Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So guys, in this video I'm gonna talk about something very important. The most common mistakes that beginners or not so beginners athletes are gonna make when they train body weight. So when they do calisthenics. So I'm not talking about the gym, I'm not talking about using weights, I'm not talking about using machines, I'm just talking about training body weight. So I'm gonna list here the most common mistakes that in my experience, as an athlete, I've made myself or I've seen others do. And I'm gonna give you as well a solution. So how to fix that mistake, how to avoid it, and then how to know the solution, how to do it better. So yeah, let's start. So the first most common mistake among athletes is not warming up enough or not warming up at all at the beginning before the session, and then not stretching out at the end of the session. That's a very, very popular mistake because of the fact that many people don't have enough time. So what they do as warm up is they simply run for like 5 or 10 minutes, or they go cycling, or they row for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then that's it, that's the warm up. And many people don't stretch at the end, so they finish the workout, maybe it's late, maybe they have to go home, maybe they have other things to do, so they skip the stretch. Now, warming up and stretching is very, very important and must be specific for what you're doing. So if you're training on that day is going to be doing upper body exercises, you need to warm up the upper body. So there is no point in warming up your lower body if you're going to train the upper body. So warming up simply means moving, making the muscles become more elastic, getting the blood into those muscles, warm them up, because blood brings heat from inside your body. So it's going to warm your muscles, they're going to become more elastic. So you're going to decrease the risk of having any injury or any contracture. And that's pretty much what warming up is, right? So if you're going to train the upper body, there is no point in warming up also the lower body. So for example, if you're going to do push-ups, don't run or don't do cycling, because that's going to only warm up your lower body. Maybe your heart rate is also going to go up, but you're not going to actually warm up the muscles that you're going to need to use to do push-ups. So be smart as well in your warming up. Don't just warm up generally, warm up specifically. So if you're going to use your shoulders, your chest, and your arms, you want to warm up your chest, your shoulders, and your arms. Nothing else. Maybe you want to also warm up a little bit the core, but that's it, right? So be specific. And then as well, the stretch at the end of the session. Stretching has been very researched by the literature, by the scientific literature, and literature has shown that stretching at the end, it's gonna make you recover faster. So it's gonna decrease the pain after working out, and it's gonna also make your muscles recover faster. So it's very important that even if you don't have enough time to do the stretching, maybe it's better to maybe cut short 10 to 15 minutes of your working out and use that time to stretch, rather than trying to train 15 minutes more and then skipping the stretching at the end. So stretching is just trying to elongate the muscles, once again specifically speaking about what you trained, right? So if you train again push-ups, you want to stretch the chest, you want to stretch the shoulders, you want to stretch the triceps, and that's it. There is no point in stretching like lower body or stretching the bicep or stretching muscles that you haven't used. So yeah, that's the first mistake, and that's the solution as well, how to avoid it. Second mistake, let's go a little bit more into specifics. Let's talk about pull-ups. So I'm gonna get here a bar, all right? So I can mimic the pull-up bar because of course I don't have it here. So talking about pull-ups, all right? Another very basic movement in calisthenics and in body weight training. What are the most common mistakes about this movement? First of all is range of motion. People, especially at the beginning, when they don't have enough strength, they're gonna cut short the range of motion when both they start and when they go down. So instead of starting from a complete extended position of the elbows, you can see here that my arms are completely straight, they're gonna start already with their elbows slightly bent. And then they're gonna go up, right? And And then also when they go down, instead of going out and extending completely their arms and then going up again, they're gonna just extend about here and then they're gonna try to go up again, because it is easier. It's easier doing pull-ups or chin-ups or whatever other pulling movement like this. So first mistake is range of motion. Even if you can do only one pull-up, but you can do it with full range of motion, it's better to do one pull-up like this and not do, for example, like 5 or 10 pull-ups like this. So doing this is pretty much useless for your muscles, because you're not strengthening the muscles in the hardest portion of the movement, that is this one right here. This is the hardest portion of the pull-up. And you're also making your muscles work in a way that, I mean, the movement is not this, right? The movement is this. So you're not gonna get any stronger in that portion of the movement. So you're not gonna actually gain pull-ups, right? So you're gonna just gain strength in this range of motion, but you're not gonna gain strength in the other half. So that's the first mistake about pull-ups. Second mistake is, I think people that tend to use the legs. So I'm gonna try to imitate now to you. So here, imagine I'm here, right? I'm going up and I'm struggling going up. So what people do is they do like kicks, right? So they move their lower body like this and they try to help themselves up. Don't do that. Avoid it, because using kipping or kicking or any other compensatory explosive motion to try to help you out to go above the bar is not going to actually make you gain more strength, right? So that extra rep or 2 reps that you did with kicking is not going to actually make you get stronger in pull-ups, right? Because you did it with a help. So it's better to do less pull-ups, but do them completely trying to use the muscles that must be used. And then another thing that I'm gonna say, another pretty common mistake, is that people tend to focus too much about the chin and about getting the chin above the bar. And you know, many times, you know, the fact that you try to get the chin above the bar means that you're gonna do this with your shoulders, right? So I hope that you can see it from the back. So you're right here, right? You can't pull up anymore. So what you do, you use your superior traps, right? So you do this, and you try to use your neck from here, trying to see if you can reach the bar. So you're not actually moving your arms or your shoulders, right? So they're fixed here, but you're like trying to cheat with your other muscles, trying to reach the bar with your chin. And that's another pretty bad thing, because you're gonna end up overusing or using too much some muscles that when you do pull-ups you shouldn't really use. So it's a lot better to try to keep your neck neutral. If you're gonna have your neck like this, you know, looking forward, looking towards the bar, that's fine. But you know, trying to really do this to go with the chin above the bar, so this, it's really not good. So even if you reach here, this is already a pretty good height, right? So here, so don't try to always go with the chin above the bar. You just want to reach the bar. So even if the bar is here, but you're here, this is enough, right? So that's it. So that's I think the 3 most common mistakes for pull-ups, especially the range of motion one is the one that is the most common one. So try to avoid it. And yeah, so now going into another pretty common exercise, push-ups. So push-ups and dips. What are the most common mistakes about these movements? Well, first of all is the position of your hands, and especially where your hands are going. So if you imagine here, this is the ground, right? I'm doing push-ups like this. A lot of people, what they're gonna do is their hands, instead of going towards their chest, as it should be, their hands go towards their face. So doing push-ups like this with your hands at level with your eyes or your face, this is wrong, right? Because already places the shoulder in a biomechanically wrong position. So you're gonna have your hands not here, but lower, right? So about here, so in your chest, right? So you try to target your chest when you go down with your hands. The second thing is the flare out of the elbows. And again, a lot of times the hands towards the face and the flaring of the elbows is connected. But you're gonna see also people maybe having their hands, maybe good towards the chest, but they have the elbows very much flared out. Now, having the elbows flare out many times is because they lack strength in their triceps, especially. So they're trying to use other muscles to try to, help them to do the exercise. So the general rule is that you want to have your triceps in a line between your body line, right, and the line created by your hands. So you can see that here there is a line between my hands and the line between my body. So do you see that it creates almost a 90-degree angle, right? So what you're gonna do is with your elbow, you're gonna follow the 45-degree angle. So the diagonal of that 90 degrees, you're gonna follow like the diagonal. So that's the motion that you want to have with your elbows, right? So 45 degrees or less. So if you have your elbows even closer to you, like this, for example, or even touching your side, that's even better. But never go a little wider than 45 degrees, because that's already, as I said before, places the shoulder in an internally rotated position, bad biomechanics, and you may end up having issues on your shoulders. So yeah, that's a pretty common mistake, the flaring out of the elbows. And now what to do? So what's the solution if you're someone that struggles doing push-ups, without doing this flaring out? That's probably because you lack strength in your triceps, especially, maybe a little bit in your shoulders and your pecs. So instead of trying to do push-ups like this, try to go into an easier version, an easier progression. So instead of do push-ups, for example, on your feet, all right, that it's quite challenging, try to do them on your knees, like this, right? This already places a lot less weight on your muscles. So maybe in this position, you can do the push-up correctly, all right? So you can keep your elbows in check, you don't flare them out, your hands are going towards your chest, right? And if you can't even do push-ups like this, you can always place your hands on something higher, for example, a chair, a bench, or anything, and you can do push-ups like this, right? So you can build up your strength by doing push-ups like this. It's very, very easy. Then you can move to the harder version when you are on your feet and you do push-ups like this, all right? And then you can move towards the ground. So there's always a progression, and don't force yourself to try to always go to the harder version right away, because maybe you don't have enough strength to do it, and you're going to end up doing the common mistakes that I've just listed. So yeah, avoid that. And now another pretty common mistake on push-ups, as I said for pull-ups, is range of motion. So don't cut short range of motion, even if it's harder, even if you can do less reps. Try always to go down, until pretty much you can keep your chest open, all right? Try to go as low as possible until your chest is still open, and then push up. And very importantly, when you push up, always try to extend completely the elbow, especially at the beginning when you're starting push-ups. Try always to do full range of motion, maybe going slower as well, so that you can control more what you're doing, but keep the range of motion full. Another pretty common mistake is rounding up the shoulders in the bottom position. So when you go down on push-ups, all right, you wanna stay with the chest open. As I said before, your hands wanna go towards your chest, right, and you wanna keep it open. But a lot of people, what they're gonna do is they're gonna start with the chest open, but then about here, they're gonna bring their shoulders towards the front so they can take away a little bit of stress from the chest and from the triceps, and they can apply it towards their shoulders. And they're gonna round their shoulders, and they're gonna end up having in this bottom position like this. So see the difference between this and this? See my shoulders, right? That's another pretty common thing. So once again, this means that you lack strength. So if you round your shoulders when you go down, and you see, because you can realize it, you just need to look at your shoulders. If you can keep them down and back, or if they're gonna come forward. That's another that means that you don't have enough strength. So again, go into an easier version, maybe rest more, do less reps in a row, and so on. So these are all solutions in order to prevent this mistake, right? All these mistakes. Now for dips, all the things I said for push-ups are also the same for dips, right? So range of motion full, don't round the shoulders in the bottom position, don't flare out the elbows. The only difference is that dips, you have parallel dips, right? So you have dips where you're gonna do this, right? So in this case, your hands position must be pretty much at your side. So you're gonna do dips like this, right? With your hands pretty much not forward, not backwards, but exactly at a level with your hips, pretty much, all right? If anything, with your hands a little forward, all right? Like this. And then of course there is the straight bar dip. So when you have the dip in front of you, and then you do dips like this, right? So that's another kind of dip. And once again, there, try not to flare out the elbows, range of motion full, don't round the shoulders at the bottom. So again, the mistakes are the same. And once again here, try to keep the chest open, elbows going towards the back. That's very, very important. So not flare out, but towards the back. And don't round the shoulders, keep the chest open, range of motion full, right? And yeah, so those are the common mistakes and solutions for push-ups and dips. Now let's go into the abs, because I think abs is the most critical one. And this mistake that I'm gonna now show you may cause you low back pain. So it's very, very important that you try to avoid this mistake and that you learn to do abs in the correct way. Now the mistake is going to involve hips and the low back position when you're doing abs, all right? So I'm going to now show you something, all right? So you can understand better what I mean. All right, so here, if you look me at from the side, you can see that right here, these are my hips, all right? These are the abs in the front. These are the low back muscles, right? So abs, so it's not just rectus abdominis, it's obliques, you know, all the core in the front is gonna be the antagonist of the low back muscles, so the core in the back. So when these muscles contract, right, like this, these muscles are gonna get inactivated, they're gonna stretch. Instead, when these muscles contract, the abs are gonna get inactivated and they're gonna stretch, right? That's how it works. And now see that the hip position is very much related, so the anterior tilt or the posterior tilt of the hips are related to the abs. When you contract your abs, your hips are gonna naturally be posteriorly tilted. See here? Posterior tilt, all right? Instead, when you contract your low back muscles, your hips are gonna be anteriorly tilted, like this. See? Now try to visualize this on the floor, all right? Because the common mistake that people do when they do abs is that instead of posteriorly tilting their abs, right? So, and therefore inactivating their low back, they're gonna keep the low back active by staying like this. I'm gonna now show it to you. So see here, all right? Do this test. So try to place yourself in this position and see if you place a hand beneath your low back, if you can slip it through. If you can slip it through and you can place it beneath your body, that means that you have a bad position of the hips and of the low back when you're starting to do abs. So if you start doing abs like this, and this is your initial motion, right? When you do a crunch or when you do legs or whatever, this is something that should alarm you and you should do something about it. So see here that my hand slips down, right? Now try to contract your abs, all right? If you do it and now you try to do the same, you shouldn't be able to do it. Because now your abs, because they're contracted, they have posteriorly tilted your hips, and therefore here there is no room. You can't slip your hand through. Now this is how you should start every single ab exercise. So from here, you engage the abs first. There should be no room here, and then from here, you do the crunch. Or you, I don't know, or from here, you lift up your legs. Or maybe, I don't know, you do this. But whatever the situation, your low back must always be in contact with the ground, always. Because if you don't, if you have your low back active, you have this anterior tilted position of the hips, and then you do the crunch, or the crunches, or you do any other ab exercise, you're gonna end up overtraining your low back muscles. You're gonna end up having a wrong biomechanical movement, because when abs contract, these muscles should be inactive, right? But if they're active, your abs cannot really contract well, and so you're gonna end up having trouble. And yeah, so this is a very common mistake that a lot of beginners do, a lot of people do. So try to always contract your abs, you know, bring your belly button towards the floor, as you want to bring it towards the floor, and then crunch up. Or only after the activation, then move your hands, or your legs, sorry, and do the movement, all right? Do the ab exercises. So that's very, very important. You're gonna thank me in, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 years. You're gonna thank me. If you start doing abs properly, you're gonna thank me, because your lower back muscles are gonna be much safer. The movement is gonna be much safer. You're gonna train better your abs, and you're gonna avoid any possible issues on your low back, and especially low back pain. That's very, very annoying. So yeah, that's it for abs. It's very, very important, this mistake, that you avoid it, you correct it, and you start doing abs correctly. Then for the lower body, there aren't really any huge mistakes, but I'm gonna now list one that I think is the most common one. And this is especially for guys, for males, all right? Even if you are a male, even if you are a guy, you should train your glutes. Don't ever think that glutes training is just for women, or it's just for females, or for girls, right? We both, you know, males and females, we both have glutes, and are very important muscles. The gluteus maximus is a postural muscle. The gluteus medius is a stability muscle. So if you don't train these muscles, or if you only train them secondary to other movements, you're not gonna have these muscles strong. And in the long term, you may starting having issues on your low back, on your hamstrings, or your knees, on any part of your spine, and so on. So it's very important that you train your glutes. If you are a guy that thinks that doing glutes exercises is for girls, you are seriously mistaken, and you should start doing glute training from now on, right? It's very important that even we as guys, we train these muscles, because these muscles are actually very important. So exercises like, for example, the glute bridge, the hip bridge, like this, right? Or maybe with some weight, or maybe on the floor, like this, or maybe one leg, or the lateral raise. For example, this is for the gluteus medius, right? A stability muscle for the pelvis laterally, like this, right? Or the one that I've showed other times with the elastic band. You place the elastic band around your feet, and then you do one step, then 1, 2, 1, and 2. That's also another very nice exercise for your gluteus medius. Train your glutes. Guys, if you're following me, if you've been watching my videos, don't avoid glute training. It's very, very important that you do glutes. Don't ever think that it's an exercise just for girls, just for females. It's an exercise for everybody, and you should be doing it. You're gonna thank me again in the long term, because by having stronger glutes, you're gonna have a safer low back, you're gonna have a safer hamstrings, you're gonna have a safer posture, and everything is gonna be better. And that's it, guys. So that concludes this video for the most common mistakes for calisthenics. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any questions, just ask me in the comments. See ya, bye bye.